All right, as I mentioned, later tonight, the president will make a speech to a joint session of Congress and officially announce his American Families Plan. This is a $1.8 trillion package, which comes, by the way, on the heels of the proposed $2.5 trillion American Jobs Plan. And that comes on the heels of the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan that was passed by Congress, bringing the bill for American taxpayers to an estimated $6.2 trillion. Now, we all know that names, especially in Washington, D.C., can be deceiving. So while a families plan may sound like something we want to get behind, not so quick. Here's a short clip of what the White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, had to say earlier. Actually, it was yesterday, talking about the president's speech tonight. Clip number 2, please.
Well, the major policy announcement in the speech is, of course, the American Families Plan, a historic investment in education and childcare. He will also use the speech as an opportunity to talk about many of his other priorities, including police reform, immigration, gun safety, his ongoing work to get the pandemic under control, and to putting Americans back to work.
Joining us to talk about what the president may discuss tonight and taking a look at the first 100 days of this administration and its impact upon the families is U.S. Senator James Lankford from the great state of Oklahoma. He serves on the Senate Committee on Finance, and he joins us now. Senator, welcome back to the program.
Yeah, glad to be back with you again.
So I know you'll be moving toward the Capitol here very shortly to get ready for the president's speech. What do you anticipate hearing tonight?
Actually, interestingly enough, I'll be moving towards the television tonight, like most Americans, to be able to watch the speech. As you may have heard, Nancy Pelosi has limited the folks that can watch the speech. Normally, there's 1,600 that are in that room. She's limited it to 200 based on COVID restrictions she's put in place. And so there'll be quite a few folks that are not invited to be able to be there tonight. So it's kind of an interesting mix. I'm fascinated by the fact that all of us have been vaccinated and we sit next to people on airplanes every week, but we can't sit next to each other in the chamber tonight. So I'll be watching with everyone else. I do expect him to talk about gun control. I expect him to talk about how he's going to take care of children at 3 years old, how he's going to then take them in through elementary and middle school and high school. Then community college wants to be able to pay for that and wants to have a federal oversight of education from literally 3 years old all the way until they go through college. I expect him to talk about how he's going to try to, quote unquote, get people back to work, which is fascinating to me since they did a large unemployment package that went out that is really disincentivizing work. And literally this coming summer, they'll start having checks mailed out to people that are not working on top of the unemployment checks they're already receiving, which will be another disincentive not to work. So it's going to be this really interesting process to try to figure out what he's saying and what actually he's doing, and then be able to figure out how to be able to balance it out. And at the end of the day, as you mentioned before, how to be able to pay for it, because President Biden so far, 100 days in, has recommended $6.5 trillion of spending. We haven't even got to the appropriations and his budget, which we expect his budget to be about $4.5 trillion of other spending. So we're looking at close to $11 trillion of spending that he is recommending, and that's just in the first 100 days.
I mean, it's astonishing that we're talking about this much money. And some of this obviously is proposed. The American Jobs Plan that has to go through Congress, this family plan will have to go through Congress. But the 1.9 trillion of the American Rescue Plan, which was which came in a train of relief bills and I think we're up about 5 trillion total in the coronavirus response. That money hasn't even hit the streets. We've not even seen that money out yet. We don't know its impact, but yet we're already talking about we need more.
Yeah, that bill was almost $2 trillion. Less than half of it would actually be spent in 2021. The other $1 trillion of it would actually be spent over the next 4 years. Clearly, it's not about COVID aid. It's about a radical change in the way that we do every program that's out there. And so they could use the word COVID, and it's actually not. The biggest example of that is Bill Clinton talked a lot about ending welfare as we know it. We're going to incentivize work. We're going to stop doing cash payments to individuals that are not working. That bill that they did earlier this year, which they called the COVID bill, changed welfare assistance back to cash payments that are coming to people, and that will start this summer. So literally, President Biden is undoing what President Clinton did in the 1990s and wants to make that a permanent shift. But there's a host of other issues that haven't even started yet. So while they said it's one of the most progressive bills ever in American history, they meant it. They just told everyone at the beginning, it's just about COVID. Don't pay attention to the rest of it. I would fully expect that what we're talking about with a family plan will look just the same as that. I'd love to have American families have control of their own family, not someone in Washington, D.C. having control of their family. So a family plan is a great way for us to be able to support other families in our neighbors and neighborhoods rather than have someone in D.C. run our families.
Yeah, this is what I read into this plan. Of course, obviously, it's news reports right now because that's all we have. But it looks like a massive redistribution of wealth. I mean, this looks like a centerpiece to a socialist agenda.
Yeah, it is. It is everything from literally cradle to grave socialism. It starts at 3 years old. There's additional payments even at birth that'll happen. Then at 3 years old, free childcare for that, and then it will work all the way through all of your elementary, secondary education, then free community college, and then additional. I expect him to announce student loans and what he's going to do that for free college from that, and then it will continue to be able to progress to the direction. I mean, this is by definition exactly what socialism is. It's trying to be able to target certain businesses and entities, taking away that money and saying the government knows how to better to be able to spend this. And we're going to allow some people not to be able to work, or some people we're going to manage, and other folks that are working, we're going to get a chance to take that money and we're going to be able to move it to wiser places. A free market allows every individual to be able to rise. That's what's been so powerful about the free market for so long, is that everyone has that opportunity to rise. And where the opportunity is lost, we fight to be able to make sure everyone has that equal chance and opportunity. And the whole economy grows with every single family together. That's a much better option than writing some people off and saying, no, you have no hope. You're not going to rise. So I'm going to take money from this group and give it to this group.
Yeah, it's shocking how quickly we got here. I want to turn for just in our couple minutes left to look at those first 100 days and what we've seen. I played a clip at the top of the show from a question regarding the reinstitution of the use of baby body parts by this administration for research. And her claim was, well, we're for science, when in fact the science makes very clear that there has been no successful treatments with the use of baby body parts, tissue derived from aborted babies, or embryonic stem cell research, but yet they continue to pursue that when real success for treatment of patients comes from adult stem cells.
That's correct. Make no mistake, President Biden has been the most pro-abortion president in the history of the United States, and it's not even close. What he has done in the first 100 days is to be able to fund abortions with American tax dollars overseas, begin purchasing baby body parts from Planned Parenthood, and reinstating that for research. He is, for the first time ever in American history, in his quote unquote COVID bill, that $2 trillion they had no hide protections in. So that means that's $2 trillion that they can use in any way to be able to pay for abortions, including sending it to states and telling states you can use that money to be able to pay for abortion funding in your state. That has never occurred in American history. It is occurring under Joe Biden, and he is saying he is not done yet. One appointment after another, Planned Parenthood has come out and said this is exactly who we were hoping that Joe Biden would actually put into that role in Health and Human Services and our aid programs around the world. They've been targeting, trying to be able to get the most radical individuals, the most pro-abortion individuals into every single spot. So he has had in his agenda in the first 100 days is how can we increase the number of abortions in America, and how can we have individuals pay for it? No other president has ever done that. And he continues to be able to try to maintain this. I'm just a pleasant moderate in this. Make no mistake, he is the most pro-abortion president ever in history.
The big question, Senator Lankford, that many people right now, pro-lifers, evangelicals, Christian people all across this country that are deeply troubled and concerned by what you just said. They're seeing it with their own eyes. The most radical administration in the history of our country, sold to us as being moderate. The Senate appears to be the last line of defense at present. Will they hold?
The Senate will hold on this, but we've got two Democrats that have got to be able to stay with us, or they will break the filibuster and permanently change America forever. And that is definitely Chuck Schumer's plan. He meant it when he said, first we win Georgia, then we take over the nation. He meant that, and he is instituting every bit of his plan. The only barrier to his plan right now are two Democrats that are actually keeping their word. 33 Democrats just 4 years ago said, do not change the filibuster. This is core in the American democracy. We should not change the filibuster, should never be done. 4 years later, all but two of those have walked away from their bold statements that they made. And they said, just kidding, the president's changed, so we junked all of our core beliefs. And so it's very important that we maintain not only what we're doing, but we maintain the filibuster because it protects the rights of the minority. Literally, Democrats are coming into power, and the first thing they're doing is advancing abortion and destroying the rights of the minority to be heard. And the media just ignores both of those facts. But it is very important that in America, we protect all voices.
How convenient. Senator, we got to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us.